Ichigoki's Under Control is a bad manga. In fact, it's somewhat infuriating to read. From the first chapter, you realize that this series will be absolutely dreadful. In fact, I'd go even further and say that Ichigoki can be used as a template going forward to identify the flaws of a shonen manga off rip. Ichigoki's Under Control is a new gag manga in Weekly Shonen Jump. The story revolves around Ichigoki Kai and Chisaki Misao, two teenagers and childhood friends who are about to enter high school. Chisaki is a bit of a neurotic tinkerer, and her experiments pushed away straight-laced Ichigoki. One day, Ichigoki finds Chisaki in his bedroom, shrunken down to the size of a hamster. She needs a lot of different ingredients, all of them scrotum related, to turn her back to her old self. Ichigoki tries to help her, but he's beaten close to death after attempting to castrate a gorilla. Chisaki, desperate to save her friend, salvages Ichigoki's body by putting her bioscience skills to use and rebuilds his broken self into a cyborg. He now has an assortment of technology and abilities at his disposal, including flatulence flight, diamond-like skin, and the ability to scan other students and determine their special characteristics. Sounds somewhat intriguing, right? Except it's not. The first chapter of Ichigoki speedruns the gorilla attack into one page. It offers no explanation for Chisaki's capabilities as a scientist and engineer. She's just a shonen ace. Gag manga doesn't need to have full exposition for the characters because that's not what they're about. But the reader still needs to relate to the characters a bit, and no effort is put into humanizing either of our MCs. Gag manga can forego the aforementioned if the quality of its humor is high, and unfortunately, Ichigoki's humor is anything but good. The mangaka, Seiji Hayashi, has a very peculiar way of writing his jokes. Every panel of this manga attempts some sort of stupid gag, not page, panel. I've never read a manga so indebted to the Royland Harmon style of scripting like I have Ichigoki, but Hayashi gets it wrong at every turn. There's way too much disjointed moments in the manga, and a lot of the times you forget what the characters are trying to accomplish. When Ichigoki encounters the gorilla that snuffed him out, him and Chisaki gag their way so poorly to their victory that even a Bella Danger would be put off by this shit show. The mangaka doesn't have a good grasp for comedy pacing, and it's a very odd choice to have a linear story in a manga that seems to be aimed at extreme ADHD cases. I could live with the direction that Ichigoki wants to go in if it wasn't for the occasional glimpses of Hayashi's ability as a good mangaka. He seems to be inspired by Gintama, but I don't think he realizes the appeal of that manga and its style of comedy. Gintama is beloved because the plot was always story and scenario driven. Even if there were a flurry of jokes and references to other manga, it still contributed to the overall plot, making it accessible to anyone at any time. Ichigoki's Under Control doesn't execute on that. As Ichigoki trucks on, the writing gets worse. Every joke is over-explained, and I honestly maybe laughed twice throughout the 8 chapters available so far. The action sequences are actually very well done, and I can't help but feel that Ichigoki's best bet is to make a Katekyo Hitman Reborn style pivot and make this into a high school battle shonen. The biggest red flag from the first chapter, and one that continued to rear its head with each subsequent release, was Chisaki's terrible use of current slang. I'm sure this is just translation liberties, but if you're going to take those liberties, why use such dated terms? I haven't heard anyone use Big Mad as an expression since 2018. It makes Chisaki stick out like a sore thumb amongst all the other characters. I was turned off by not only her character design in the opening chapter, but her use of slang each time she gets flustered or frustrated. I hope this isn't what Hayashi thinks the kids are saying nowadays. Maybe this is a suggestion from the editor, but utilizing a quota per chapter writing device in a Weekly Shonen Jump manga is definitely not a good idea when you're starting out. Recently cancelled manga like Doron aliens, smartphone, and Earthchild all succumb to that sort of misuse, and Hayashi seems more capable than those other authors. So it's worrying to see what he's doing right now. I'm so fucking sick of seeing potentially good series fizzle out. When I read the first chapter of Ichigoki, I knew it would be bad, but I didn't expect it to get worse as the weeks went on. I pray that Hayashi is recognizing what works and what doesn't. He's still in a position to save this manga, and if he can focus on a particular style of humor, introduce a few more characters who are actually interesting, and adjust Chisaki's pattern of speech, I think this manga can last. Gag manga doesn't necessarily need conflict, but Ichigoki isn't like High School Family. It isn't like Magu-chan, RIP. It's not like Shugomaru. Ichigoki's under control is its own thing, and the sooner it can determine its identity, the better.